welcome to the Starting Over Podcast. I'm your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is a show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. Now, some of you might notice, like, hey, Dark Logos, you sound a lot louder. What's going on? Why is it that, normally when I have to have my speakers up to max, you now sound like, you're yelling at us? Okay, so here's what happened. The computer that I have that's technically almost 8 years old now is starting to give up the ghost a bit. I was like, well, let me see if I can get this sucker booted up and not use the bleeding cool laptop that I have, even though I don't like laptops from a daily work perspective, just because for your neck and stuff, they just don't line up correctly. But for a mobile computing function, they're awesome. Anyway, so I was just like, well, let me get all my stuff, hooked back in to, my desktop, just see if I can get things going. And come to find out when I'm messing with my audio settings with my mic, that my computer had throttled my mic all the way down, my Yeti all the way down. So it wasn't picking up. It was only picking up 10% of what the mic can do. So for all of you who have been Dark Logos is on that ASMR type trip for the last however long, that's why. That's why. And I was just trying to figure out for the longest why was my mic having audio issues, and it may be Skype. Skype might be throttling my audio or something. I don't know. So anyway, today's episode is going to be a bit of a mixed bag. I'm going to let you know eventually. I'm going to have a video from my WizKids Open. That's going to be up, but you already know how it is with me editing live video. It takes a while because, again, the computer's 7 years old. Okay, so it's going to take a while, so just bear with me on that. Have some patience, but I'm hopefully going to try to get it up this week, and all that other good jazz. But what we're going to talk about today is the shift in the meta and what it means for you as a meta player. Now, having gone to this WKO, I'm going to give you a couple of the warnings. Number one, what I'm about to say is, you already know, it's my opinion, but also be mindful that what I might say might seem derogatory, but this is not shots fired at anybody. Okay, and number two, this is not sore grapes, because people can go online and see my games. Okay. That I played this weekend at Omaha. I think it's FTK Games, and you look in heroclix and you can see me play, and I think they might have the finals up. And spoiler alert, if you want to know what place I made second. Lost in the finals to a guy I beat previously. And again, what I'm about to say has nothing to do with the fact of being pissed off or sour grapes or whatever else it is. Okay, so just hear me out. All right, so we are in a Jakeem meta. As much as Paris Gordon would like to tell people to, stop getting off Jakeem's junk, Jakeem has proven to be a formidable opponent for the meta. Point blank, nothing, you can dispute about that at all. You can try to argue that it's not a Jakeem meta, and you would be high. And I do mean that, you would be high, because Jakeem responds too adequately to so many problems. So much so that it can't be ignored. And if anyone was like, hey, you can do this silly thing, you can do that silly thing, you can adapt this way, cool. But realistically, the main combo right now that I wouldn't say necessarily is problematic in the sense it's meta breaking, blah, 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 this, that, and the other, really is Bizarro Green Arrow for shorthand going forward, and Jakeem Thunder. And there's two things about that combination that automatically starts causing problems. Number one, you're forced to engage Jakeem Thunder into a melee situation, and Jakeem Thunder 9 times out of 10 is going to have Pandora's box with the Wrath Relic, so that he can have willpower, thus giving him energy shield deflection and combat reflexes. Those two elements together makes Jakeem pretty much a flat 20 unless he's being pulse waved. Okay, now just sort of keep that in mind. All right, now with BGA intact, now you're having to engage him from melee. If you have to engage him from melee, guess what? You're now in this really, really bad situation because, for lack of a better word, he has every upper hand. And I'll have pretty much 3 turns from now on. Well, 4 turns total that you just need to keep track of. 1, BGA's Bizarro Green Arrow. 2 is Raw Jakeem with nothing added to him. 2 is Lean Jakeem. That's just Jakeem with the Wrath Relic. Okay, and then Stacked Jakeem. That's Jakeem with a entity and everything else. Okay, all right. When you straight up look at your matchups, Jakeem, whether it's lean, raw, or stacked, he can take on a majority of the matchups with or without BGA. Okay, now lean Jakeem in particular is where I'm sort of putting my favor on, because it solves for a majority of his playability issues. Okay, and you don't have to regard Jakeem's tempo as much. Okay, so that's why I'm really at the middle at lean Jakeem. Raw Jakeem and stacked Jakeem are both really good, but we are not going to be in a Jakeem versus other stuff meta for long. Okay, so, and I'm going to break some stuff down here and sort of explain to you why that is. All right, now, when we start looking again at Jakeem Thunder's impact, and I really do mean that with BGA, there's a couple of things that are huge. Number one, Jakeem with BGA is not a mobile platform. It is not a mobile platform right now. Most builds that I've seen in its rawness does not have TK or overdrive or anything like that. So they're hauling BGA this entire time, which is limiting their movement by 2. Okay, so what you're looking at is no longer having a 12 swing, but a 12 movement, but a 10 movement. Okay, so that in and of itself is not too bad. Okay, it's not too bad, but it doesn't allow for fast deployment. But you're not looking at Jakeem Thunder with BGA as like a blitzkrieg, lightning war, type of attack or type of situation. You're looking at him as the freaking mobile fortress of death coming at you. So his rate of approach doesn't matter. Like a Jakeem BGA combination can be as slow as tar, as long as they get in firing range and just start unloading on you. Like that's just the fundamental truth. Okay. Then they have whatever backup they have. Stacked Jakeem is literally like a Death Star for the game. I'm not going to say that, oh yeah, he can take on Colossals with no problem, but in 300 points, those two together is stupid. Considering that your most common combination is to have Jakeem with Wrath, and then you're going to have Sloth on BGA. So right there, you're looking at a very hard to kill piece in the middle of all of the rest of this. Okay, so there is that. And I know some of you might be saying, but Dark Logos, I don't see Jakeem beating Don't Die real easily. Well, if it's pretty much the Don't Die with Mystique, I was about to say Mephisto, with Mystique, then yeah, he just wrecks her really fast.
Because all you have to do is, you know, pulse wave, force blast her into a wall. And then she's dead. Like, that's it. But again, sort of taking, you know, steps forward, not backward. When you, and this is why I'm going to say, like, Stack Jakeem is a meta concern for a lot of players, and here's why. Number one, you with Eclipso, because that's the main sin that you're, I mean, not the main sin, that is the main entity that you're looking at possessing him. You're getting Impervious. Then Jakeem at the beginning of the turn picks Super Senses and Shape Change. Then you have Combat Reflexes. Okay, so now you have ESD, Prob, Combat Reflexes, Super Senses, Shape Change. That's 5 levels of defense right there. That's 5 levels of defense, and then you add on BGA as a 6. What are you really going to do? Like, if you are a standard player, not having access to Jakeem, what character do you bring out to solve for all that? Let's just say you have Nick Fury. Nick Fury comes up, Watcher's Eye, what power? Like, oh, Shape Change, I still have Super Senses, I still have Prob. Okay, well, I have to make sure that Nick Fury is outside your Prob range. Okay, well, I still have, Shape Change because you got rid of my Super Senses. Oh, and I still have Energy Shield Deflection. So, yes, it might be a 12 on a 20. It's a 12 on a 20. It's a 12 on a 20. Yes, 8 is feasible, but it's still in the defender's pocket. It's still in the defender's advantage. So, I really want you to understand in full-on perspective that you are now looking at, like, yeah, to deal with Jakeem Thunder, to take away half of his stuff, I have to running shot Pulse Wave. Okay, but then I can't running shot Pulse Wave because if I running shot Pulse Wave, it gets redirected to BGA. Okay, and so those two together are going to be the most common things that you're going to see from people that have access to both figures, because this is your problem with whether you're running raw, lean, or stack Jakeem with BGA. If you're facing it, if you run Quinjet, and let's just say you're running 6 deck Quinjet, the standard 6 card Quinjet has been revolving around range characters, and if you had a melee character, it was like an in-game, might be Shazam, might be Superman, might be, some Wonder Woman. No, actually, Lex is the Wonder Woman. Take that back. Okay. So right there, you're not running Triathlon. You're not running the Ronin card, okay, for most of these teams. You're sure the hell not running Wonder Man. Okay. So when you start looking at it, the melee options, there aren't that many. Like, of course, you still have the Flash, but no one runs the Flash ID card. Well, not yet. Okay. All right. So right there, you can start seeing is that if I start running Ronin, Triathlon, the Flash, Wonder Man, a Superman that's a melee Superman, guess what's going to happen when I face another Quinjet? I'm going to get wrecked. Definitely, if you're going to face a Quinjet with BGA, Faust, Little Jet, that build. Okay. If I face that build, and as another Quinjet player, I'm wrecked. If I face Krang, I'm wrecked. Okay, just straight up, like, there's nothing that you can do. All right. So right now, Small Jet has to go through like a huge overhaul for just rocking 6 cards. Now, if you're talking about 7 card deck, you can start to adapt a little bit. 8 and 9 card deck, you have enough tools to do what you need to do, but you only have one chance to do what you need to do. One chance. And if that one chance fails, you do not get another chance. Versus Jakeem has chance after chance after chance after chance after chance after chance after chance. And did I forget to say after chance to get the proper options that he needs to attack you. All right. Now, again, Does this mean that Jakeem needs to be watch listed? No. But I am sort of going through some of the major matchups and showing you why Jakeem is winning and why Jakeem will be dominant for a while and why Paris Gordon is wrong. I'm just going to flat out say it. I like you, Paris, but I just need to... You're the main anti-Jakeem hype, so, you're the face of the movement, so I have to sort of bring you up. Okay, so let's sort of take it a step further, okay? And we start looking at Jakeem versus like Justin Zephyr and Robot. I'm just going to just say flat out just Justin Zephyr versus Robot. The Robot doesn't matter. Okay, when you start looking at Jakeem versus Justin Zephyr versus Robot, having played that matchup twice, and shout out to the guy I played. The problem comes in is that eventually Justin has to come out. And if Justin doesn't come out, you're just having one flat turn to get 2 attacks off with your robot. Okay? And if your robot's colossal, yeah, he can colossal push and go back and go forward and all this other stuff. But you just really have one turn. And if you move up Justin, all Jakeem says is like, yep, I've been waiting for this time. I've been waiting for this time. And he'll hypersonic speed precision strike, go up, kill Justin, one-shot Justin because Justin's 4 damage. Has prob, it's 11 on 16, he needs a 5. And then he's like, yep, yeah, I killed him. And then he scurries, and then Jakeem scurries on around, riding the back of his magical genie. And just, what do you do? Oh, okay, you Colossal Retaliate me, fine. If only have 1 token, I will kill your Colossal Retaliator and run back to my BGA. Okay, so you have another Colossal Retaliator, and it comes down, and it does whatever it does. Cool. If I have any backup whatsoever, then they are just going to kill you. Okay, so though that's something to legitimately think about, is that you just can't come in and Colossal Retaliate as a solution onto a Jakeem. Trust me, I know. I that's one of the main reasons I lost in the finals. Okay, so right there we can see that, all right, Justin and Robot is not an option. Okay, because you just said, but Krang is so good. Like, no. Krang has even more problems because let's look at this. Krang has to hurt himself to do his stupid level damage, and if he can't pulse wave Jakeem for 6, how is he getting past all his crap? Okay. Next, let's just be real about it, people. If you take away Justin from Krang, and then you just follow up and take away Krang's healer, what can Krang do? What can Krang do? Okay, because the Krang player, every time he goes Colossal, is taking 2. And all of his healers, whether it's Night Nurse, whether it's Baxter, whether it's Tony Zuko Pog, they're not stout. They will take 4 damage from Krang. And they'll take 4 damage from Jakeem. And just again, being honest, without Justin, Krang's mobility is not that high. And he can't just running shot all over Tarnation. Okay? Think about that. So now we're looking at, it's like, yeah, Jakeem is way more flexible and is able to take on more opposition and just disassemble a Krang team. Because a Krang team 9 times out of 10 is not set up with a secondary attacker to follow up with Krang. All the offense is based in the combination with Justin. So again, Justin with Robot is gone. Alright, now come into Don't Die. Don't die can be tough for Jakeem, depending on the don't die setup. But if Jakeem just focuses on like the Joker, the Joker, or trying to get somebody like Dupe out and just trying to flurry his life away, he can. And here's why. Jakeem has the luxury of packing another attacker, whether it's tiny or big or whatever. Jakeem has that luxury. Hell, bring in a drone and a couple of ID cards. You have that luxury with Jakeem. And you might be saying, Dark Logos, you're not talking about any one build for me to like completely, straw man against. And that's why. The Jakeem builds that I have seen over this last weekend in Omaha, and some of the things that I'm getting in using my information networks, they are vastly different. Even my build that I use is vastly different than a lot of the other Jakeem builds. Alright? Now, I have some luxury because I've had years of playing Super Scroll. I played the game for a long time. So I'm pretty astute of when, like, I need to use this power and this power and this thing and this thing. And even I had moments of like, oh crap, I forgot that I had that one thing over there. Okay? So, I mean, trust me, like, there was a lot of things that I missed that if looking back at it now, I should have been like, I didn't need to pick Battle Fury because I had the Wrath Relic. So, anyway, going on. When you start, taking some things apart, and you start looking at Pog Tech. Pog Tech was never a threat to Jakeem. Pog Roundtable was never a threat to Jakeem. Because all he does is say, like, look, either I'm running shot, pulse wave it, precision strike, energy explode all your pogs. And if he precision strikes, if he precision strikes, energy explodes all the pogs, only thing's going to happen to the pogs is that they're going to get one click instead of like potentially one of them getting 2 clicks on the round table, because he just spreads out the damage so that there's one pog that never takes 3 damage with the energy explosion. Okay, because he has 2 targets. He just goes boom if they're all close, if they're all huddled in any formation whatsoever. Just boom, dead. Just dead. And there's literally nothing that your opponent can do about it. Okay. And then after all the pogs are dead, how long will it take for your opponent to build up more pogs? It will take a while. And if it takes a while, then guess what? The next turn, you just send Jakeem out to go kill the pog generator of your choice, run and retreat, and most of those teams don't have something that can pursue, because they're mainly, the generals in the back sending in the lemmings to go die. So you start killing generals, the lemmings fall off. Alright, so now Pog Tech, and I know somebody out there is going to be pissed off. It's like, you were a Pog Tech player, Dark Logos. How can you dismiss Pog Tech with Jakeem so easily? Blah, 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 blah. But it's because the Pog Tech does not work as well as it used to. Nothing is a monolith. Nothing, lasts forever. Everybody is Ozymandias at some point in time if they decide to stay with the same type of team perpetually throughout the meta. And if you don't know who Ozymandias is, go look it up, and you'll be able to find that poem about Ozymandias. Pretty much, yeah, it's a good little thing to remind you about the passing of time. So when you see that, like one character changes all of that, then it's like, okay, so what do you do? And I'm just giving you another team. Like that just becomes a bit of a problem in the matchup. Drones can beat Jakeem, but the problem is that drones need to probably change the deck that they use to fight Jakeem, and the type of drones and how the drones are used would probably have to change. Okay, and here's why I'm saying this. The problem with the drones is that from a tempo perspective, the drones do not have high mobility. The drones can swarm you, the drones can get out there, the drones can get back in battle, but if a batch of them are wiped out, and you bring, let's just say you bring all of them back. Let's say you have a batch of 4 wiped out in one turn, because it is possible. Because all you need is energy explosion, side blast. You're able to take out a batch of drones. Okay, batch of drones wiped out. Boom, sent back to the starting area. You turn up your round table 4 times. Okay, cool. That happened. All right. Now, guess what? You now have to redeploy, retoken them up, come back out, and then if you had anything that's left up there that's a threat or sort of a threat, you can have your secondary attacker go out there and attack, try to kill the drone. Or you can just be like, well, I have an evac method. Let me just evac away from these drones. Then reset up, redeploy, and then start the process over again. And you're going to say, well, Dark Logos are going to burn ID cards and do this and that. And again, come back to what I said. You have a option. A one-time option. And yes, the round table can reload that option. But how many times is a round table going to reload a Nick Fury ID card? Once? Twice if you're lucky? Okay? So, when you start looking at that, and you're already giving up points, and you're trying to grind down a character that's able to freaking, get charged from the Pandora's box, or perplex up his attack or damage, and then charge flurry you, or flurry steal energy, or charge flurry steal energy you, his survivability is really good. So, yeah, alright, you brought out Nick Fury. Nick Fury hit Jakeem for 6. It doesn't KO him. So then you need to have 2 drones with a 10 attack, and hitting Jakeem from range, and praying to God Jakeem isn't on a patch of hindering, to kill Jakeem. And if you have a Jakeem with an entity, if you're running stat Jakeem, for example, so let's go all the way down to click 7. Okay, I can pick toughness, so your 3 damage is reduced down to 2, which won't do much. I can pick prob, because I didn't have prob before. Okay, because I did, charge flurry or whatever else. Okay, so now I can pick prob, and I can just prob you, and you have to have a 10 on an 18. That is not good odds. It's not impossible odds, but it's not good odds. Alright? So, right there you can start seeing how some problems match up. And then this is just from being just being real about it. Okay? And I played my guy I work with and a friend of mine, a guy I've known for years, and we had a really tough match. And looking back, going into that match, and then talking, with my teammates ahead of time, and even practicing against the drone team. I've lost against the drone team with Jakeem 4 times. 4 times. And each time, the first time it was just definitive. And then I changed my Jakeem team, and then it was definitive again, and I changed my Jakeem team again. Okay. And then the last time it was a lot closer, but I still lost. The main thing that I recognized is that I was trying to be too active with Jakeem. I was trying up there, I'm going to get some early hits, I'm going to extend, I'm going to do all this other stuff. No, freaking, the mountain didn't come to Muhammad. Muhammad has to come to the mountain. And there's some teams that does not work well from a tempo perspective, and drones are it when you're talking about Jakeem. And the other element that it came in was 2 minutes for a turn is not a long time. It's not an unreasonable turn. But if I take a 2-minute turn against a drone team that's batched in any form or fashion, and I'm taking out 2 drones a turn, time's on my side. Time is realistically on my side. Whether I don't have to slow play, I don't have to rush either. But if I play at a reasonable pace, it is on my side, thus putting a distinct disadvantage to a drone player. Now again, if you say like, but Dark Logos, he gets to level 3 and he summons the freaking gods of, the Sith Lords. It's like, okay, cool. He summons the gods of the Sith Lords. Alright, great. But at the same time, if the gods of the Sith Lords aren't immune to, outwit, guess what I'm going to do with Jakeem? Outwit, poison, sidestep, poof. That's it. Or I can just pick whatever magical rainbow power combination I need and poof. They're dead. So I'm not saying this like Dark Logos talking smacketh to his friends. I'm not. But I am pointing out is this is just like Super Scroll, except if Jakeem was in the Super Scroll era, Jakeem would have waxed Super Scroll and made freaking Super Scroll his minion. Because all the stuff that Jakeem would have had access from entities and everything else would have made Jakeem stupider strong than Super Scroll. Way more survivable than Super Scroll. So, again, drones, viable. Is probably the best matchup against Jakeem right now. But realistically, if you're a drone player and you're playing against a slow Jakeem player, the clock is not on your side. Clock is just not on your side. And so if you can't decisively like wipe Jakeem, wipe his support, and then like, yep, that's done, you're going to lose. Because if you fail to do damage to Jakeem and you just focus on Jakeem, the rest of his crew is going to be like, well, yeah, I'm going to be doing this now. And again, if you're dealing with BGA as well, again, go back to the same complaints I had about Quinjet. Is your deck suited to deal with BGA? And if your deck is like 4 out of your 6 cards are range cards, I'm sorry, homie, you're in a very bad situation. You just are. So, keep going. This is really where the meta is right now. Is you're going to start dealing with Jakeem versus Jakeem. And this is where I'm going to argue is raw Jakeem is not bad in a Jakeem versus Jakeem matchup. Lean Jakeem, I feel, is most optimal. And stacked Jakeem is unoptimal. Okay, now you're about to say, like, the Dark Logos. Hold up, wait. You've been telling me this entire time that freaking Jakeem Thunder with the entity in BGA is like the Death Star, but all of a sudden you're telling me that if the Jakeem versus Jakeem matchup, the Jakeem without the entity has a distinct advantage over the one with the entity. That doesn't make any sense. This blows my mind. Please explain. Okay, so here's why. Raw Jakeem and lean Jakeem have advantage over stacked Jakeem because the points that you spent on those add-ons are spent on other things. Those points that you spent on those add-ons are spent on other things. So we're taking it back to StarCraft. It's been a long time since I've summoned the old gods of StarCraft. Okay, and then shout outs to Day 9 who really inspired a lot of core elements of this show. But if you look in StarCraft, there are tech tree paths that you can do for every race and lead you down to different ends. And for Protoss, it's usually called Big Protoss, where you're putting out like the freaking Mother Capital ship, the Mother Cloak ship, the freaking, major, like the Void Ray guy, all that crap. Or you could just Zealot Rush the fire out of people. Zealot Rush, armor upgrade, and then melee upgrade, and then there's like a Berserker upgrade. Okay. If you're looking at a short game, Zealot Rush is stupid strong. 10 Zealots early on, it's a wrap. If you're looking at a long game, you of course have some cannons, you have, a few Zealots just sort of guarding out. And then you have, you're building up your base and getting, at least 2 or 3 expansions, and then you're just hitting them with Void Rays. And if you're going for the full-on Death Air Armada, you need like 4 bases, complete long game, doing little small disruption attacks on, your opponent's, resource collection, and then hitting them at the end with the huge mega air raid. Okay, now I said all that to say this. All 3 ways are valid ways of playing Protoss. But if you're doing Protoss versus Protoss, it usually turns into Zealot Rush. When I was playing, it usually devolves into Zealot Rush. Because both sides know that the more efficient version is going to come out and win, and as more as time progresses, the less the odds are in your favor for either more complex strategy. So just hitting them early with a simple strategy is sometimes the best option. Okay, so going back to Jakeem versus Jakeem matchup. All right, I was undefeated with a lean Jakeem until the final match. All right. Undefeated, and I actually beat the guy that I lost to in the finals in preliminaries. Okay, and he was running stacked Jakeem with BGA, and here's where some key advantages come in. Key advantage number 1 of lean Jakeem over stacked Jakeem: I have mobility, you don't. I have points to invest in overdrive. I have points to invest into Mercury. I have points to invest. I can choose TK path and have the rest of my figures be support based, and I can operate with 1 Sin if I wanted to. If you want to run raw Jakeem, okay. So there are options there for me to have the support that I need to allow me to be mobile. The biggest problems about stacked Jakeem with BGA is that sucker ain't mobile. And if you are trying to constantly keep BGA next to Jakeem, you have a huge problem. Is that the moment that you have to go out and touch somebody with Jakeem, you're spending all your energy trying to get BGA next to him, and your opponent's going to be like, now's my time, let me do this. And if you, in some cases, move too slow against some teams, they will just dance around you and start just picking off your small stuff and then just run. Like, just being real, like, stacked Jakeem doesn't have a lot of additional options that he can put on the team. Lean Jakeem does. Raw Jakeem has a whole lot. Okay? And now some people might say, well, they're 4 points. What's 4 points difference, Dark Logos? What's 4 points difference? Well, really, it's like 16. Because you can choose not to go with Pandora's box. Like, I'm just throwing out there. When you choose not to go with Pandora's box, now you have this whole different sort of mind freeze that happens, because you get almost paralyzed with the options, then you sort of break out of it, and then you're just like, winter is coming for somebody, and it's going to suck for them. Okay? That's what happens. You're like, winter is coming. And then you're like one of those like frost demon dudes that I see on the commercials for Game of Thrones or something. And they're like, and you have frost magic or whatever and can't die. Something like that, from what I've been told. Anyway, But with lean Jakeem and raw Jakeem, you can invest in any number of things that will just remove BGA out of the equation. Once you start looking at stuff that removes BGA out of the equation, a la Frogman, then raw, like stack Jakeem, cannot do much against lean and raw Jakeem, because it just comes back down to, I pick running shot pulse wave and I get past all of your BS. It doesn't matter that you have imperv. It doesn't matter that you have prob. It doesn't matter that you have shape change. It doesn't matter that you have super senses. It doesn't matter that you have impervious. All of that's gone. And I've running shot pulse waved you for 4. Now you're in a non-optimal position, and you're stuck either trying to charge, flurry, steal energy, which if you're dealing with lean Jakeem, you're having, stack Jakeem with a 10 attack, trying to hit a 20 defense too many times. 3, 4. Yeah. Yep. After dealing 4 damage, Eclipse only is going to have a 10 attack. Yeah. So you're looking at lean Jakeem having a huge advantage. Raw Jakeem, he can have all sorts of other weird magic stuff going on in the background. Okay? And that's, Frogman is just me incorporating something that was on my team. And shout out to Kevin Afruz, because Kevin Afruz sort of showed me what Frogman can do with Mitsaplik, and he's the main reason that I got to the finals. I'm not too proud to say that other people's tech innovations helped me get wins. I'm not. Other people have listened to me in this show or the Quarry and said, like, yeah, man, your information allowed me to win a game at locals or whatever else. I'm not too big where I'm like, you know what, everything I do is because of me. Like, no, like Kevin Afruz, shout outs to him. He showed me, and my teammates were like, yo, you need to run this because this is the best option. So anyway, Frogman goes over there, farts away BGA. So then Jakeem's like, hold up, wait. You mean you just farted away my defense? I'm like, yeah, because I'm Frogman, baby. I just farted away your defense. And now, guess what? The Kamehameha Blast is coming. And you just make sure that Frogman is on, outside of the pulse wave range. And boom, GG. The game is downhill for the BGA player. The Stack Jakeem player. Alright, so you have that option. The other option you have is Mitsaplik, which again comes back to Frogman. It's like I go and pulse wave you. You lose all your stuff. I hit your entire team, including your BGA. Once I hit your BGA, he's tokened up. So he can't do all his reduction crap if I so choose to hit him, which is sort of like a fool's errand. And I've locked down your Jakeem, and he's taken 1. And that doesn't seem like a lot at first, but when you realize, like, your Jakeem Thunder is not on first click anymore, that takes a little bit of the sales out of him. Not a lot, just a little bit. And that's enough to generate tempo. Alright. Now again, yes, Frogman's automatic. With Mixie, you have to hit with the attack. I sort of cheated with Mixie, and I put Envy on Mixie, which allowed me to take the attack value of whoever I was targeting, which in some cases was like 11 and 12 attacks, and I would perplex up his attack ahead of time. So, yeah, like, I sometimes cheated with like a 14 or a 15 attack. And I say cheated, meaning like, this is not normal results if you just use Mitsaplik. Okay? Not like I cheated in my games when I should be DQ'd and I walked away with stuff I shouldn't. That's not what happened. Okay. So, anyway, sort of going on. When you start looking at all the things that Lean Jakeem can do, that Stack Jakeem can't do, and Stack Jakeem with BGA really can't do, you start to realize that Lean Jakeem has a great advantage, humongous advantage over Stack Jakeem. He just does. And just sort of to emphasize this a bit more, pick up Eclipso. pick up Eclipso, and then start to ask yourself a couple of core things. Core thing number one: how many of his powers that you have that you can pick are going to be useful in most situations if you're on that click? So we can say on click 1, stealth can be useful, sort of, depending on your matchup. Precision strike can be useful. Impervious can be useful. Shape change can be useful. Okay, now the questions then after that is like, all right, what am I going to be picking as a player so that I can then, utilize one of these powers? Okay, so like running shot, hypersonic speed, all that jazz is straight. So first click, you can do whatever you want. Second click, nothing's really changed too much. Now you have outwit. Okay, cool. So now you have this outwit. What are you doing? Are you going to use outwit? Okay. Are you going to still pick impervious? Or are you going to pick like hypersonic speed, invincible, or something like that? All right, so click 2, still good. We got that precision strike and all that good jazz. Click 3, nothing really's changed. Once we get to click 4, now we're on running shot, side blast, and vulnerability outwit. Now our defensive options started to degrade. Okay. The only thing that you're really getting protected from is poison. It's really poison. Because again, if you're dealing with Jakeem Thunder versus Jakeem Thunder, you're just going to be like, yeah, I'm going to psychic blast you or something like that. All right. So keep going. On to click 5, there's nothing really that useful. You still have the same options. Click 6, nothing that useful. You still have the same options. Click 7, you've lost your prob. Now you need freaking prob now. And then you have this Blaze Claw's Fangs. And you'll have a stat boost with the 11 attack. But then you're risking like, well, I need to make sure I pick Flurry and Still Energy, and hopefully I can have that go off. And then, of course, on the last click, you still have that Blaze Claw's Fangs, and you have, like, I think, Empower, which is not useful, and you have Toughness, and you have Charge. So, as the fight goes on, Eclipso becomes less and less useful. And once BGA gets removed from the equation, Lean Jakeem has every advantage. Now, and I want to point this out. Okay. And I'm just doing this from the points perspective. Stack Jakeem paid 25 points for the entity. He paid 4 points for the Wrath Relic. He paid 50 points for he paid 50 points for BGA and 4 more points for Sloth. Okay? So if we're looking at it, we got 50 plus 25 is 75, then 4 more 79, then 4 more is 83, and then we have to say 12 because of 12 because of the resource. All right, so 83 plus 12 puts us flat at 100. Okay, so wait, no. 83 plus 12 does not put us flat at 100. It puts us at 95. Sorry, it's a little late when I'm recording. Okay, so it puts us at 95. It's like Dark Logos can't do math. Okay, so it puts us at 95. That's 95 points worth of investment. Alright, so I can be crafty if someone would say is this. I can be crafty and I can just have Missile Click and no Frogman. And I can do exactly the following. And this will ruin a ton of BGA play. And it just will. If not placed right, and I do say not placed right depending on the map, all I have to do is pick with my Jakeem, whether it's Raw or Lean Jakeem, Psychic Blast, Force Blast. Psychic Blast, Force Blast. That's it. And I can target his Jakeem. It will automatically reroute because Bizarro Green Arrow's thing is not optional. And since he can be a legal target whether it is otherwise or not, I will hit him for 4 damage. And he can try to reduce the damage down. It won't matter as long as I do 1 damage. It'll still go through. Okay, so let's just say he reduces it down to a mighty 2. Okay, cool. Now he's knocked back 2 squares. which is still within sidestep distance, mind you. Alright? And I can hit him with any other attacker I want. I can hit him with, let's just say I have, on my side, I have, what's his name? Sunfire. Now I can run Shot Pulse Wave with my Sunfire. That is 50 points that I can pack in with my team. Okay? And I can get past all the shenanigans. Now I can call, that Nick Fury call-in is a little bit more useful because now he can, pray to God that he can hit, through all the shenanigans and maybe Watcher's Eye, the shape change or something. And I can still say, like, hey, on that same team, I can pack Starlapse Tech, and Starlapse Tech is giving my Nick Fury Precision Strike. So now I'm Precision Striking, getting through the Super Senses. I can Watcher's Eye the shape change. So now I don't have to worry about Super Senses. I don't have to worry about Impervious because of my thing anyway. And I just have to hit a freaking 20 with a 12, and I have 2 probs to do it. Okay, so I'm just telling you, like right there, Nick Fury ID card with the level 7 ID card, having something simple as a Starlapse Tech, and having a 50-point Sunfire. Okay, that's 50, 83, 89. I spent less points. So, I'm just sort of throwing that at you, is that when all's said and done, Stack Jakeem is a monster versus everything else, but another Jakeem in particular. And if there's so many circumstances where it's just like, I don't need running shot, I don't need, charge, I don't need this, I don't need that, I'm sort of stuck. Okay. The entity does not always serve Jakeem. So there's problems there. Okay. So just sort of keeping that in mind. But even though I broke down like all these things, like why Jakeem is better, blah blah blah, these things are better, blah 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 blah, all these problems, blah 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 blah, look at me, blah 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 blah. I want to really emphasize something huge, and that element is this: for a player who has decided that they want to be and compete in a world's caliber event like WKO now, like Rock events or Rocktober, it is functionally cheaper. And I really want to get this into people's minds. It's functionally cheaper to play Jakeem Thunder in BGA than it is a Quinjet, than it is a drone team. Like think about that. Even if you spent $100 for Jakeem and $100 for BGA, for the drones, you're not done at $200 because majority of those are chases. Okay, and then not including the ID cards that you need for your team and the characters for those ID cards. With the Quinjet, depending on your deck, and most of the time you need a really good deck, your deck itself for the Quinjet is $200. So and I know people are going to be like, there's so many Jakeems. Why are there so many Jakeems? Because it works and it's cheaper and it's new player friendly. It works, it's cheaper, it's new player friendly, it's plug and play, it's freaking the windows to everybody else paying high point dollars for max. Okay? I just want to let that sort of sink in. It's the same reason why Crane for a brief period of time just was everywhere. Because if I spend $100 on Jakeem, which I didn't, I spent $80 on mine, and I'm come to find out I'm lucky compared to some people. Okay, and I pulled my BGA, so again I was super lucky. Okay, but compare that and really think about that. $200, and Eclipso's probably $50 if you can still find less depending on your situations. Hell, you could probably trade for Eclipso, and you don't even have to run Eclipso, you know. And box, to borrow somebody's Colossal Retaliator of your choice, whether it be the Atom or Solaris. Hell, it could be Superman Robot if you, for all I care. Okay, slapping all that together, and then just figuring some other weird crap to fit in there, you have a high quality team. You have a real high quality team that can compete and beat people that have experience. It is Jakeem in BGA creates a very new player friendly environment to competitive. It's expensive for like Joe Blow without a job or low incomes or working for minimum wage. Trust me, homie, I know. I lived that life. Alright? I lived that Target life. Alright? So I understand. You know, you can't afford that. Okay? But if you looking at everything else and you're just looking at all the other pieces in play, you can start to realize that, yeah, anybody that's serious about doing this stuff, you're looking at Jakeem BGA as an easy combination. And if you don't want to go down the BGA route, then you can easily go down the mobility route and start incorporating anti-BGA measures, because BGA works and integrates into a ton of other teams and makes them way more survivable. And then once you start incorporating Jakeem into other setups, and trust me, internally in Phoenix Nest, I'm already looking at counter Jakeem stuff and counter BGA stuff and other integrations, and I'm working on it. Because after this weekend, if you're not, you're going to be left behind. You're just going to be left behind as a competitive player. Now, if you're like local player, homie, like you're probably, you've been listening to the show for a couple of months, you're already killing it, most likely. You know, I know how it is for people that listen to the show. You start off on a low man on a totem pole, and then you listen to the show for a couple of months, and then you come back and start killing them. And then they don't know what's going on, and you're pulling out magic technique, and they're like, yo, where did this wizard come from? Were you Gandalf the entire time? You know, we just thought you were, you know, Mickey with the sorcerer's cap. Didn't know what the hell you were doing. But you're freaking Gandalf. What's up? Okay. So, anyway, what I want to just finish emphasizing to you all is this. Is the meta only Jakeem? No. There's some things out there that I can see in the feasible future being huge threats to Jakeem. One of them is Deadpool. Deadpool for real. That shifting focus Deadpool, that I think will be able to threaten Jakeem really hard. The first reason is he's cheap. The second reason is he creates a situation in which he is as adaptable as Jakeem from what we've seen so far, but from an offensive perspective. He is as flexible as Jakeem, but from an offensive perspective. And he's like 75 points, so he's almost half the point cost of Jakeem, which means that integrating Deadpool into any other number of tactics is far more viable than integrating Jakeem into various other tactics. Even though Jakeem has a lot of tactics. I brought up Mitsuplik because that's what I did. Okay? But there's other stuff. Like I even looked at Jakeem Faust. Jakeem Faust is dumb if you get your stuff. Like, I'm not lying when I say that. Jakeem Faust is dumb if you get your rolls with Faust. And if you don't get your rolls with Faust, Faust sort of can pull some work. It's not as good as I think it used to be, and I know that sounds really weird for me to say that. But with all the Jakeems rolling around, Jakeem Faust is more of a liability just because Jakeem goes in. It's like, yep, man, I get a perplex on my damage from this source, and then I hypersonic speed and one-shot Faust because he didn't get a lockdown this turn, and screw the retaliation I'm going to get from killing him. It's better than me not being able to do anything and getting roofied by his dumb lockdown. Yeah, just straight up run in 5 damage and kill Faust. And that's one of the main reasons. I'm going to tell you another reason why I ran Jakeem. Okay, I ran Jakeem because I was tired of running Faust. I didn't want to run Faust for a second WizKids Open, even though I was initially going to run Jakeem and Faust. Then I was just joking around because initially then my team told me to take it seriously. And then when I started seeing what was happening with Faust, I let Faust go. Because there was just too many situations where people would just roll up on you. You couldn't properly protect Faust, and Faust just gets blasted. If you didn't have a lockdown or they're 8 squares out, Faust just gets blasted. Now, some people want to say, well, you just run a BGA with them. Like, yeah, you could run a BGA with Faust. But that leaves you with a highly unmobile Jakeem, which means that you need to be able to, like, protect your house. Which at that stage, I didn't have that sort of mindset, so I didn't build something to be, an Under Armour commercial, okay? So there are certain limitations. And that's what I'm sort of pointing out is like, Jakeem is not, the Messiah from on high to deliver all the nooblets into the promised land of winning WKOs. That is not the truth. But what it does mean, if you're an experienced player, is that Jakeem in your hands is way stronger than someone who is new to the game or slightly casual or is a new casual. I don't sleep on casuals that's been playing the game for like 5 to 10 years. You know what the game's about. You can pull powers out your butt and know how to pick things with Jakeem. You're not a nooblet, okay? You just don't play power pieces. That's the difference on average for a casual. There are casuals who don't know what the hell they're talking about, and then there's casuals that know what they're talking about but choose not to play stuff. So like whenever I bring up a guy I play with called Pat is a guy that played since the game started, knows how to use the stuff, just chooses not to use it that way. So like he just like, yeah, I'm not going to play that because that's not fun for me. I want to have this engagement back and forth battle with my opponent. Those dudes can be competitive if given the pieces. If WizKids made more pieces that were competitive at lower rarity and made the game that way, then yeah, there would be the difference between a casual and a high level competitive player. That chasm would shrink a lot. But all WizKids did was say like, hey man, the distance between the Grand of the casual and the meta player is like the Grand Canyon, and all they did with Jakeem Thunder is say like, hey man, we sort of put like a bridge. It doesn't have the escalator in there yet, but it sort of does slightly massage your feet as you walk across. So anyway, Jakeem Thunder, Black History Month. The thing that I think he's the hero that we deserved, and we need it. So yay! That's it for today's show. I'd like to thank y'all for listening. The magical computer has decided to stay up long enough for me to finish producing this show. So I'd like to thank my computer for not crapping out on me and booting up. If you have any questions or comments or disbelieve in my Jakeem conspiracy, feel free to email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com if you wish to opine. Keep it piffy, keep it interesting, keep it awesome, baby. If you want to find out when a new show is up, you can follow me at startoverpod on Twitter. It came from outer space and told me, man, magic out in the cosmos gets really, really weird. You get the 5-headed Orcothrop. Yeah, you don't want to mess with that 5-headed Orcothrop. Freaking Bigglebop you. You don't want to be Bigglebopped. Yeah, you can check out my random, stuff that's on the Twitter sometime. Yeah, definitely random when I put stuff up. You can donate to the show by going to startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com. It's a lonely blog that's only there just to host my PayPal donation account. And you can buy a Starting Over Podcast t-shirt or a Phoenix Nest t-shirt if you so wish in the link description below. Also, shout out, I think it's FTK Games. They have my games up on their YouTube for the Omaha WKO. So if you type in Omaha WKO 2017 FTK Games on YouTube, I think you'll be able to find my matches. And I don't know if they have the final matches up, but spoiler alert, I win all of my matches but the final one. And for those who aren't aware, if you're going to a WKO, some WKOs have banned the use of the con exclusives from the first week of WKOs to be used in the follow-up WKOs. So just letting you know, you probably want to contact your venue to see if you are so lucky to have such figures, to see if you can use them or not. Okay? All right, that's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank you all for listening. And remember, we all have to start over sometime.